Welcome into the Broncos studio. I'm your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez, alongside lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla, and Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. The Broncos have announced that the late Super Bowl 50 champion and five-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Demaryius has been elected to the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame, a massive honor for DT in his first year of eligibility, a well-deserved honor for number 88.
100%. When the discussion started, we saw his name at the top of the list, and knowing that the Super Bowl 50 10-year celebration is on the horizon this year, it really was a shoe-in for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think DT's election is something that makes all of Broncos country proud, right? This is a guy that on the field certainly deserving of all these honors. He's number 2 on a lot of the all-time career receiving lists, has a lot of records himself in his own right, a Super Bowl 50 champion, but I think also he was the heart and soul of this team, right? And so I think to see him go into the Ring of Fame and obviously passed away at an untimely age back in 2021, it hurts that he's not going to be here to celebrate this, but I think the fact that he goes in and we'll get to celebrate him, that's going to be a special weekend.
38th Ring of Fame member and 13th first ballot selection in franchise history for the Ring of Fame. You were mentioning, Steve, like being in that room and knowing the impact that DT had. How did those conversations go to make the selection?
Well, we talked a little bit about his play. Everybody knew that he was an exceptional player, but in addition to that, he was so active in the community. He had great relationships with all the youngsters, and just his impact on Broncos country and this community was really large and really left a lasting impact on everyone. And so all of that together, it was kind of a no-brainer. Again, considering that Super Bowl 50 will be celebrated this year.
And we heard from his mother, Katina Smith, and she said that one of the things that DT always mentioned was that he didn't want his legacy to go away when he was done playing football. And obviously that extends to more than football, right? But him as a person. And so now you get this 8-foot tall pillar in Ring of Fame Plaza. You get to unveil your name in the facade there on level 5. Get that orange jacket, Steve. Yes. You've got one. I mean, you live on. Your legacy lives on. And it's not just for the people that watch DT play, but for anyone that comes to Empower Field a Mile High moving forward and says, hey, who is Demaryius? You get to learn about just such a great player and such a great person.
Yeah, and when you select these players, it's the players that have had the most impact on the franchise. And to your point, Steve, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And the way that he's been able to just galvanize the fan base, galvanize the community to really rally around his memory and continue to pull that forward. It's one of those things that you look at his legacy, and it speaks to what he means to this franchise. I know you guys touched on it each, but when you look back at what he meant to this franchise, you as a player and you covering this team, what can you guys say about that?
Well, I can say he was just a special person, a special player, one, but also a person who had heart, a person who was the guy that everybody on the team looked up to. They wanted to be like him, and he also brought people in and helped develop the young players, and he welcomed guys to the team when they were there, and a lot of young players really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a few things, right? One, Steve, you mentioned it's selfless there. I mean, a guy who was a team captain. I remember in 2018, he was traded away later that year to Houston, but in training camp, he's working with all the young guys who are coming to try to take his job,
right. And
he's spending 30 minutes, an hour after every practice helping them learn and trying to help them get to his level. I think you talk about the toughness. This is a guy 125 consecutive games. Obviously,
that's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
But I also think a Super Bowl 48. I mean, Super Bowl 50, you lift the trophy, but Super Bowl 48, he gets decked on one of the first plays, comes right back, catches 13 passes. It's a Super Bowl record, and he is out there battling in a tough loss for the Broncos. So I think about that toughness. I think about that selflessness. And then, of course, just the extreme athleticism, taking a screen route 80 yards to the house against the Ravens. He's going up and catching these passes. He's got, obviously, the play against the Steelers where he stiff-arms.
That's the one.
He stiff-arms the guy and takes it 80 yards for the walk-off touchdown. I mean, those are the things, the selflessness, the toughness, and the athleticism, the playing ability that stand out about Demaryius Thomas.
And many guys that are that size, they aren't as mobile as he was. You know, I mean, he was fast. He could catch. He could jump. He could run. He could block. He could do it all. He was a complete wide receiver. And so, I mean, yeah, we're acknowledging him, the great person that he was, but he also was a heck of a football player.
Yeah, and Broncos owner Greg Penner and Kerry Walton Penner mentioned in a statement that he is one of the most beloved players and the greatest wide receivers in franchise history.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Yes.
And I never got a chance to play with him, but watching him, I was like, man, I would hate to have to tackle this guy.
I was going to say, I was like, can you imagine that matchup?
No, I cannot imagine. That's the combination of speed, size, his hands, his awareness on the field. He was a complete wide receiver.
Yeah. Well, when you think of your favorite DT memories, you caught mine, that Steelers game. I remember exactly where I was. I remember exactly what I was doing. And it's one of those moments where you like a moment just stops for you as a Broncos fan when that play happened. First play of overtime. And it's one of those things you didn't expect to happen. And then he just takes off down the field. And it's like one of those moments I like wish, like in California, like I wish I was there, like to witness that in person. What are one of your favorite DT memories?
Well, one of my favorite memories was, I believe it was 2017. That was the first year I started working back with the team, and I was on the sideline during one of the games, and he came off the field, and he was so nonchalant that I'm like, man, he's playing in the game, and he's this calm. He was talking to me just about other stuff, people up in the stands and that, and then he ran back in, bam, touchdown. Like, how do you do that? I was a guy, I had to be honed in. If people were on the sidelines, I wouldn't say anything to anybody. I mean, maybe my teammates, but somebody else, I'm not talking. So his ability to lock in and not have to be so serious, I thought gave him another edge in the game.
Yeah, I mean, football-wise, and it's not a famous play of his, but back in 2016, there was a play in New Orleans. He goes up and he high points the ball over the corner, and I was like, man, that's a grown man catch. And that was who Demaryius Thomas was. But I think more than that, it was all the moments off the field, right? Like in the building, he'd see you, he'd tap you on the shoulder, and then pretend like he didn't tap you on the shoulder. He was a silly guy, so full of energy, so full of life, and obviously, a tough childhood, right? But still had that positive, just wonderful attitude that drew everybody to him, and why it made it so difficult when he passed away a few years ago, and it's what makes it so great now that we get to honor him again.
To celebrate him, yeah.
Well, Broncos country, DT will be officially inducted into the Ring of Fame during Alumni Weekend at halftime of the Broncos Week 7 matchup versus the New York Giants on October 19th. As always, for the latest news and headlines, visit DenverBroncos.com. And until next time, I'm your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez, alongside lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla, and Hall of Famer, Steve Atwater.